I saw your film. It's powerful, it's compelling. I'm sure it's convincing.
And so, there's Grant just sitting there as Gore tells one exaggeration or half-truth after another, like this one.
China and India have been closing hundreds of coal-fired generating plants.
In fact, while those countries may be closing old, dirty coal generators, they're actually building lots of new ones, which is why China's coal-fired power capacity, for instance, rose more than 9% just last year. Here's another Gore whopper this week.
In the last decade, the climate-related extreme weather events have become much more common, much more destructive.
Again, where's the proof? As I said, fewer cyclones, not stronger, and droughts too don't seem to have got worse. And food crops are actually setting records again, not just here, but globally. These are the facts. But the media instead just laps up Gore's dud predictions, and boy, has he made a lot of them. Remember how he falsely claimed polar bears would become more endangered? There's actually more of them. Or this prediction from 8 years ago.
Some of the models suggest to Dr. Maslowski that there is a 75% chance that the entire North Polar ice cap during some of the summer months could be completely ice-free within the next 5 to 7 years.
The North Pole to have melted away by now, 8 years after he said that? I mean, really. Let me show you a satellite measurement taken just this week of the ice cover of the North Pole today, the height of summer. Plenty of ice left there, Al. And if you're now saying, hey, what about the giant iceberg we just saw on the news, that giant iceberg that's just broken off the Antarctic? Well, even the alarmists admit, I saw them on TV myself, they admit that's natural, that's not global warming. And in fact, ice cover around Antarctica today is within the average of the past 30 years. No sign there of global warming. So, to my interview. As I said, on the one hand, I've got this Al Gore visit and journalists treating him like an oracle despite his record. And on the other hand, there's poor Mark Morano. He's the other guy touring Australia to promote a film on global warming. Climate Hustle, it's called. He co-wrote it.
Climate has become a new religion, and that people who disagree would be treated as heretics.
I think they should be enjoying 3 hots and a cot at The Hague with all the other war criminals.
We're not dealing with a scientific issue. We haven't been dealing with a scientific issue now for 15 years. We're dealing with a determined political issue.
The polar bear bears a disproportionate burden of the combustion profligacy.
I was being insulted by people who knew far less about these things than I did.
Climate has become a new religion, and that people who disagree would be treated as heretics.
I think they should be enjoying 3 hots and a cot at The Hague with all the other war criminals.
We're not dealing with a scientific issue. We haven't been dealing with a scientific issue now for 15 years. We're dealing with a determined political issue.
The polar bear bears a disproportionate burden of the combustion profligacy.
I was being insulted by people who knew far less about these things than I did.
Oh, sorry about the loop there, but good news should be heard twice. Mark Morano was Communications Director for the US Senate Environment and Public Works Committee, and he runs the climatedepot.com blog. He joined me earlier. Mark Morano, thank you so much for your time. First, tell me about your film.
The film is called Climate Hustle, and it's the answer to Al Gore's Inconvenient Truth from 2006, and also his upcoming sequel. Our film, Climate Hustle, literally goes through a virtual A to Z of all the global warming claims. You'll find out about all the extreme storms that aren't happening. In other words, as CO2 has risen in the atmosphere, extreme weather has actually declined. Droughts, floods, tornadoes, hurricanes, all on climate timescales are down. And we show scientists who voted for Al Gore, who actually think Al Gore is a smart man, but they were appalled when they watched his film. We have Nobel Prize-winning scientists in this, former United Nations scientists in this, and it's a lot of fun. We go through and we pulled news media archives going back 4 decades, showing you all the fun stuff from global cooling scare of the 1970s on up to the present. And we also go through, have fun with the tipping point predictions, and we go after the most insidious part of the climate debate, the myth of the 97% consensus.
Speaking of that, I mean, obviously, and I'm embarrassed to say it was an Australian academic, John Cook, that came up with that 97% and even got Barack Obama quoting it at us. If it were true that the 97% of scientists agree with dangerous man-made global warming, then you wouldn't have had a scientist, you would have had the devil's own work trying to get a scientist on your show.
That's true. This was a number.
Who did you get?
That's right. We did not get the 3%. We got. It's hard to actually put a number on it. It could be more like half or more than half have been skeptical. There was a survey of the American Meteorological Society a few years back of the U.S. meteorologists, and up to 75% were skeptical of global warming. Now, what happens is in the film, we actually go directly after the Australian John Cook. We feature Richard Toll, the lead United Nations author of the climate report, actually comes out and says the 97% figure was quite literally pulled from thin air, and he says it just crumbles when you touch it. And
I think he was among the 97% that was counted as skeptical, and he's actually shown. Well, and I know a friend of mine, Nir Shaviv, who's an Israeli scientist, one of the top in his field, was also in that 97%, to his amazement.
What happens is they ask such bland questions. Dr. Roy Spencer, the climatologist formerly of NASA, says he was part of it. They're basically asking, can man contribute to warming, and has the Earth warmed? So you're going to sweep up a lot of the skeptics in that. But the main thing is, one of the surveys they did, 97 scientists, was actually 77 anonymous scientists. So the 97% wasn't even 97 scientists. It's a talking point is all they do.
Mark, this is the figure they keep that fools the public. They think, oh, well, look, all these scientists are for it. Therefore, who am I, small me, to disagree with the vast majority of scientists? Now, the point is, of course, I think the broken predictions, the dud predictions that were made, is the most damaging thing, because anyone can understand it. We've, of course, had our Tim Flannery, who was the chief climate commissioner here in Australia, claim that even the rain that falls will not fill our dams and river systems, at which point the heavens open, the dams overfill. I'm sorry that it's not in your film. Why isn't he in your film?
Well, that's a good question. We do actually cover a lot of Australian angled stuff. We have the late Dr. Bob Carter in the film.
Great man.
And what we've done, you're talking about these predictions. What's so amazing is, back in the 1990s, they said snow is a thing of the past. David Viner from the University of East Anglia. We had the UN lead scientist, Dr. Michael Oppenheimer, who actually said he bought his daughter a sled and now there's no more snow due to global warming. Well, then what happened? In the United States, the East Coast, we've had the snowiest decade on record. Blizzard after blizzard. One winter we had 2 blizzards. And what happened? They turned on a dime and said, global warming now causes more snow. And this is more proof of it. So this is one of the things they do. The failed predictions, they just basically go back and act like they never happened. We've had them with Antarctic sea ice. Global warming means